Few of us realize how quickly life can change in an instant. In February 2018, driving to Fort McMurray, Jodi didn't know her life was about to change forever. A westbound pickup truck lost control and slammed head-on into her SUV. Her 4-year-old daughter, who had been riding in the SUV, died on impact. The accident left her severely broken from the hips down, spending 5 months in the hospital recovering and learning how to walk again. It meant embracing a new normal. She had a choice. She could give up or she could choose life. She chose to put in the work. This is Jodi's story of her road to recovery.
This is Performance Theory with Mike Clark.
Jodi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike.
So what led you to getting into the health and life coaching?
Well, I was a massage therapist beforehand and Reiki master, which I guess I still am. But about a year and a half ago, I was in a really tragic car accident and it left me broken or shattered, you could say, from the hips down. And my 4-year-old little girl died instantly in it. So I had a lot of healing time, and I will never be able to go back to practicing massage on a competitive level.
And with that, you're still currently recovering from it. How long did you spend in the hospital?
I spent 5 months. Originally, what was projected was 10 months.
Did they give you a lot of hope at the hospital, or did they seem to put you on everybody else's timeline that they had seen before?
It's different depending on what type of hospital you're in. So in ICU and trauma, it's everybody else's timeline. If you're in a rehabilitation hospital, however, they don't like to put restrictions on you because they don't want to give you preconceived notions or limit yourself, right? They want you to do the very best that you can to exceed expectations.
Now, how did all this affect you mentally?
Shattered. There wasn't one part in my life that wasn't touched. Because of that accident, we let go of our 4-bedroom home that we had because we no longer had 3 girls. I lost my career as I knew it. My marriage completely shattered for a time, and my 2 surviving children that I have instantly went to go live with their dad. I had full custody before then, and I still don't have them the way that I used to. So everything was touched, and mentally I had to choose every single day of who I was going to be, and it was very much a conscious choice.
Has becoming a health and lifestyle coach helped you along your own journey mentally?
I would say so. I think when you're in a position like I was, you have a choice whether you are going to sit in your hospital bed or your hospital chair and feel sorry for yourself and have everybody else feel sorry for you, or you can choose how you want your future to look like. And I didn't want to be somebody who is on a walker. I didn't want to be somebody in a wheelchair. I wanted to be able to go camping with my kids and go on boat rides and do all of the fun things with them. So I did a lot of the internal work while I was in the hospital, pre-framing what I wanted out of life and where I was prepared to go and how I was going to get there. And health coaching and life coaching just really, once I got into the mindset of being able to think about what I wanted to do, because you're grieving over what you've lost at the same time. Once I was in the right headspace of like, okay, now what? Which took me a little over a year. Health coaching and life coaching really just fell into there where, you know what, I've done a lot of the work internally as it is, and it's just learning how to put it into practice for others.
Now, if you're comfortable with it, do you want to go through the accident a little bit with us?
Well, the right leg was considered shattered. So what I do remember, I don't actually remember the accident per se, even though everyone who was on scene said that I was awake and alert and talking to them the whole time. I was confused, but I was awake. what happened was we were driving at highway speeds, and somebody, for whatever reason, decided to cross the center lane, whether it be willfully or not, we don't know. And I was going just over 100 and he was speeding up, and we collided. What that did was, we know that I applied the brake 1.8 seconds before the accident happened, which then the whole impact went into my right leg. So my femoral neck was nearly snapped off. I had multiple breaks in my femur. I had a compound break in my femur. My knee was considered shattered. It was kind of blown off to the side from the impact. And this is all on the right side. The right tibia had a compound fracture and multiple breaks. Both fibulas were shattered. My left tibia had multiple breaks in it. My left femur had multiple breaks in it. So end result is I've got a bilateral hip plate in my neck joint. I have metal rods in both of my femurs, one metal rod in my tibia and a metal plate in my left tibia. And I have multiple screws, plates, and pins in my talus and right ankle.
What did the recovery process look like for you?
I can laugh about it now, but I remember arguing probably a couple of days after I woke up, because they had me in a chemically induced coma for a couple of days, telling everybody that I had clients that had hip replacements and knee replacements, and I was going to be walking in 6 weeks, and I was fine. Nobody argued with me back then. But it wasn't really until about 3 or 4 weeks after the accident that I actually started getting an idea of how long this was actually going to take. And even today, I still can't believe that it's taken so long, even though I've surpassed all expectations that were put on me.
After the surgeries, how long was it before they started to get you to walk again?
So I couldn't wait there for 3.5 months, and that's just because they want the metal rods to solidify, right? Because they're drilled right through your bones, and you need time to have it settled. But as for movement, and I knew this as a massage therapist, we always want to heal within motion. So the sooner that they could get me moving somewhat, the faster I would start recovery. So with less than a week, I guess, they asked me if I wanted to get into a wheelchair. And surprisingly to them, I said yes. And it took 6 people to lift me, and plus myself. And I had a broken rib at the time as well, so it really hurt to pull up on anything as well, but I knew how important it was to at least start moving. And I had some really good motivation as well, because we needed to do a viewing for my daughter, and they weren't able to preserve her body as long as typically you can, because she was not taken care of the way that she should have been. So within 2 weeks after the accident, there was going to be a viewing, and I wanted to be there. So if I didn't start moving right away, I wouldn't have been able to be there.
Have you ever returned to the scene of the accident?
Yeah, we actually just a few months ago drove by, and I was asked if I wanted to see where it happened, and I said sure, hoping that I would be able to remember something more. Unfortunately not, but what was really surprising to me was how straight the road was. There was no turns, there shouldn't have been any jerking of the wheels or any distractions. It was just straight road.
How has what you've learned throughout this entire process helped you assist clients as a health and life coach?
So life and health coaching is really about figuring out why you want what you want. And with my accident, I had to figure out why I want what I want. Okay, so I want my body back. Why? Well, so I can play with my kids. Well, why is that important? Well, because I want to age well. Oh, you want to age well. Why do you want to age well? Well, because I want to be able to sit down on a toilet and not need help getting back up. So really, it's a sense of my independence. It's a sense of giving people back their independence and their power. And that's how health and life coaching has really been an asset, is because with clients now, I can help them receive their power back and take it back and claim the life that they have always wanted or always thought about, but just don't know how to get there.
What was the biggest help that you received when you first started your business?
With my business, I would actually have to say that's you.
Oh, that's great.
We talk a lot about clients and different marketing strategies and different things that you do or that I've done. And you've really helped me step into my fear and embrace it. Going live on Facebook or going live, launching a website, you gave me a lot of direction on that and what platforms to use. Talking about podcasts, we're doing one and you're kind of ripping off the Band-Aid for me. So thank you.
That's great. Has there been anything that you've learned in massage therapy that, since you're not able to do that anymore, has any of that been able to transfer to the new position?
Absolutely. So in my practice as a massage therapist, I always made sure or tried to make sure that my clients had information that would help them when they weren't with me. So whether that be doing exercises, whether that be stretching, whether that be icing or using heat, whatever would benefit them on a regular basis to help hold the results. So now with health and life coaching, what I do is I kind of flip the script of what can I help you with when you're not with me so that you can reach your goal, so that you can even be a better version of yourself next week when we talk. So it's really bringing it full circle, the education that I was doing in my massage room, but now I'm just not hands-on.
Has there been anything that the clients consistently bring up that's been a struggle for, it seems to be a struggle for everybody?
That's a good question. I think it's their inability to believe that there's anything better out there. So often we get stuck in a world where this is just life and this is just my body and this is just how things are and I have to learn to live with it. And consistently, whether it was through massage and me helping people realize that, hey, I don't need to be in this type of pain anymore if I am proactive with it. It's the same thing with health and life coaching where, hey, there is better and there are action steps that you can take to create the better life, that you don't have to settle that this is your life and you just have to put up with it. You actually can, like I said before, reclaim your power and steer the ship that you're on.
Do a lot of people have more of that victim mentality? Like, somebody did something to me, I've got no control over it. Like, for instance, I know with a lot of my clients, maybe my mom didn't feed me well. She didn't give me very good nutrition. So as an adult, I eat terribly. And they seem to play the blame game a lot. Do you find that as well?
Used to be in my massage practice, absolutely. But now, for the people that know my story, they don't dare complain to me because they know that I have done the work. Like, I had a choice whether to stay in that hospital bed and kick everybody out and hate the world, or was I going to get up out of that hospital bed and be an inspiration? And I chose to be an inspiration. So now, not so much, but I absolutely hear what you're saying is that people do get stuck in their rut of like, well, I've always been this way, or I was in a car accident and now my neck is all battered and I'm in constant pain and, I can't do that because, my leg hurts and I can't do that stretch because this hurts. And no, we have to get uncomfortable to get better. We have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
I know just from training you, I've seen a lot of that with you. I keep asking for feedback. How's your knee doing? Oh, it's sore. Are you okay? Oh yeah, I'm fine. I have to push through it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, as soon as there's any sort of resistance, it's a little bit uncomfortable, they stop. And in order to grow, you do have to go through a little bit of pain.
Absolutely.
So what has been your biggest challenge in getting this company going and getting your health and life coaching?
There's a few things actually. So one is schedule, just because the schedule that I have with my kids and time for rehabilitation, because I am doing physio once a week still. I'm doing restorative yoga. I'm doing rehabilitation TRX. I'm doing a gym membership now where if I'm not at one of those other things, I'm at the gym just rebuilding muscle. And they say that that's part of the hardest part of recovery is just regaining that muscle. I've got the function, now it's regaining the strength. And in my mind, it's just like learning to walk on broken bones was a lot more difficult than this part. And then the next part is just the insurance companies really put a lot of restrictions on what you can and cannot do with Section B, and if you're familiar with it, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not, well, you're only allowed a certain amount of income and you're only allowed certain things. And if you get better too fast, you get cut off. So I got better too fast according to some insurance companies, and they wouldn't help me at all. But if I would have chosen to stay in that hospital bed and not done anything for 2.5 months, then I wouldn't be where I am today. I'd still probably have a walker.
Recently, you've had to complete an 8-hour physical fitness test on the first day and a 4-hour physical fitness test on the second day, and this was for insurance purposes. Take us through that test and what it's been like for you with the abilities that you currently have.
Yeah, you could say it was torture. I understand why they have to do it. Insurance companies need to protect their dollar. However, from my understanding, I am part of a 1% clientele that have these types of serious injury. I will never be the same, and depending on how well I age, and depending on how much I get back within the rest of this year will depend on what I'm going to be capable of when I'm older. So insurance companies are a business, just like anything else. They want to make money. They don't want to spend money. And so by sending their clients to an assessment like this, it really weeds out the people who are like, oh, my neck hurts, I was in a car accident, but look, there's something shiny over here, and does, a 90-degree turn. Versus someone like me where it's like, no, I can't do a full 40-hour-a-week job. I can't run my home and watch my kids at the same time, plus have a job, because I physically cannot do it, emotionally cannot do it. So this assessment was to see what I was capable of functionally. And that was from everything to cognitive memory, to physical capabilities, to my dexterity.
And how did the test go?
The first day, I would say it went really well. They always tell you, don't limit yourself on how you think you're going to feel that night. Do as much as you can, no matter what. And that was really hard for me to grasp because everything for me is measured out during the day. Everything is how many stairs I do a day, what kind of activities do I do in the day, will measure how my evenings and nights go, how well I sleep. So to just throw that all out the window and to not care about how my body will feel later that evening was really hard. But I did it. They did have to bring in some of the exercises, had to bring the floor up to me because structurally I was not able to bend down and pick something up in a safe manner. So in that aspect, it was a little bit more difficult, a little bit more ego checking. I don't like to think about all the things I can't do, but I like to look at where I was and now look at me. So these assessments really play a big part on your mental psyche, emotional psyche. and physical.
How important do you think the community is in supporting somebody who is struggling, not just in your own story, but in maybe in some of your clients?
Oh, community is huge. And you know what? It's so important to realize who you have around you. I didn't know that I had such a strong community behind me until I woke up and just started having people come and support my family when I couldn't. The love that they showed my girls and the rest of my family was just incredible. And it's actually really, I still get choked up about it, really humbling, because a lot of times we think that other people are too busy to help us. And so we have the I'm the only one syndrome, where nobody can help me because everybody else is too busy, or I'm the only one that can do this correctly. And had I not had such a strong community rally behind me to give me the support I needed, whether it be driving kids, whether it be dropping meals off, whether it be driving me around, or just calling to check in, because when you're mentally not there, when you're mentally struggling, you don't think to ask for help. And so those phone calls to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, or those texts that just say, you know what, you've been on my mind, I'm here for you. Those are your branches for life. Those are the ones that can actually help you claw the earth to get back up and do it again and again and again.
What is the top thing that you're struggling with right now?
My physical capabilities, I would say, they really, really limit on what I can do physically. I would love to be back at work doing something. I would love to be contributing to society. I thrive when I am helping people and watching them succeed or get better. And right now, that's taken a hard hit on my mental health because I feel like I'm useless.
What do you think your unique skill or your superpower is that has helped you to get through this and has triggered that desire to help other people?
I think that goes back to childhood. I really struggled in school, and I was told quite often by educators that I probably wouldn't make it through junior high or high school, let alone college. And I took that as a personal challenge, and I did that because I had a mom that didn't accept those answers. And she pushed me to do better and prove them wrong. So I had that drive right from the get-go, I guess, from learning how to push through difficulty. And then just, I would really have to contribute the drive now is to my kids, because I want to be a good example of, you know, when life pushes you down or when your life completely explodes and there's no pieces that you can even tangibly pick up, you have to keep going, you know. And I don't want them to look at their mom and see a victim. I want them to see a woman that lost almost everything in her life and came back stronger, more powerful, and inspiring for others.
Jodi, what's next for you? What are you working towards with your company to get your message out to the masses?
So getting people familiar with my story. I think my story now is a very powerful one. Not only Marley's story, my daughter's story, but how we as a family has risen, how I've recovered. For my company as well, I think it's just the awareness of what I can do and what I can offer to help people with. And I do specialize now with stress and overwhelm and how to manage that. I can't take away people's stress. I can't say, well, don't worry about it. But I can help give tools that will help minimize the way that your body processes stress so that it feels not as overwhelming. Because if we start feeling overwhelming, we stop functioning.
What would some of those tools be? So, I mean, your average person's going to see stress all the time. You know, there's stress from work, there's stress from home. What can somebody do, let's say in a work environment, where you're stressed out, but you need to be in that environment every single day because, let's face it, you need to work?
Great question. So one of the things, and it seems really simple, but just making sure that your emails are organized. If you have an office job, so many times that you get bombarded with different emails and different junk mail, and we just go on autopilot and we continue to just click and delete, click and delete, click and delete, and that actually takes a lot of mental strength from us, and our brain does not like to work, actually. So if we can minimize that work by just unsubscribing and creating organizational folders where certain things, like things that have been in your inbox for 2, 3, 4 years, or maybe 6 months, do you need them anymore? Do they need to be there where you can see that you have 2,000 emails? Or can you minimize that and make it to like 20, maybe 50? And if you can get it there, can you get it down to 10? Can you get it down to 5? So that's huge, because that takes off a lot of mental stress that you're not even aware of. Secondly is organizing your calendar. I know that it takes 45 minutes for me to go grocery shopping from the time I leave my house to the time I get back. So I actually block that off. I don't try and squeeze anything else in there, because that time is spoken for. And then that way, when somebody asks me if I can do something, or if I can make an appointment, or if I can pick up some items for dance, I can look at my calendar and know exactly what it may be conflicting with or what it's taking away from, and if that's worth it.
Have you found that when people get stressed out, they tend to go to an old habit at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The mind always wants what's easier, and in physio, they called it the path of least resistance. And that's true in life for anything, because, like I said before, we don't like to think that much. So when we get stressed, the brain will automatically try to minimize that stress by going to a default habit. And for a lot of people, that's the comfort foods, because it's easy, it's quick, they don't have to think about it, and they know that it'll give them a spike in energy.
I think one of the things about, especially with the comfort foods, and I actually just made a post about this the other day, is that one of the things that nobody tells you about is that although you may have control on it, if you tend to get stressed out, you're going to go back to that no matter what. You could have conquered that 10 years ago. Like, I don't overeat when I'm stressed, but I also have the self-realization that when I do hit a stressful time, not to overeat, because the first thing I think about is grabbing junk food.
Absolutely. That's so true. And it's really hard to comprehend, but our nutrition, it affects so much on how our body processes stress. So we may be going for those easy comfort foods because they do release endorphins in our body, right? They do make us feel good, and the body goes, oh, this is okay now. But that's only short term, where if we're actually going towards the foods that will help us deal with the stress, all of a sudden the body doesn't feel like it's on fire inside anymore, and it can actually look on the outside going, what can I help you with?
Do you find that people that are consistently stressed usually turn to food and are more overweight than people that are unstressed, or do they turn to other different vices?
You know what? I haven't noticed that yet in my health and life coaching. And because as a massage therapist, that wasn't my lane to be in. So I haven't noticed that yet. What I do think is people react differently to cortisol levels. So whether you gain weight when you're really stressed, or whether you lose weight, whether you're really stressed, it all depends on your bioidentity, on how you're going to process that.
Is there a special kind of diet that people should be eating? Like right now, keto's really popular, paleo's really popular. I always tell my clients there's a diet for everyone, but not all diets work for everyone either.
Yeah, and as a health and life coach, I can't give like nutritional advice or tell you what you can and cannot eat. What I can say is be aware of the ingredients. right? Like, so often we think that we're making good, healthy choices, but if we look at the ingredients, it's like 10 or 15 items long. Well, that's not good for the body. If we can make the ingredients list smaller and the less chemicals, then we create less inflammation in the body, which then helps aid us in our stress and overwhelm.
What do you think people concentrate on too much in their daily lives that they should be reducing?
I think body image. Whether that's weight loss, whether that's gaining weight, whether that's, I don't like this way my nose looks or chin looks. I have 37 different scars on this body now in compared to before the accident. Some of these scars are small. Some of them are the size of my legs. And I have never felt more confident in this body until now. Until I realized, started looking at this body and going, you just learned how to walk. You stood up for the first time in 3.5 months. You're a rock star. You did so good. When we're at war with our body, we're the ones that lose. Our body will always win. And if we're constantly putting down our body, what do you think our cells are going to develop? It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. But when we can actually stop focusing on all the little imperfections and look at how great our body is and what it does for you on a daily basis, maybe you just got out of bed today and that's all you could do. Maybe you ran a marathon. That's fantastic. I will never run one of those. But when we can thank it for what it does and appreciate it for what it is, all of a sudden we're not at war with our body anymore and we become allies with it and we feel better.
Do you think people are relying too much on social media, especially things like Instagram, to get that feedback? Because quite honestly, Instagram's going to be only showing the best of somebody's life. Hardly anybody puts, I've had a shitty day, I'm going to put that on Instagram. Do you think that social media's had a lot to play with the body dysmorphia, just the negative impact that people are looking at themselves with?
I think it depends on what you have in your news feed, right? You hear all the time, well, my news feed is so negative, so I stopped following Facebook or I stopped following Instagram. And I think you need a balance of it. I think, obviously, if somebody's only posting great things about their life, then other people that are watching are like, oh, I want their life, or that can't be real. Or if you always see somebody posting something negative and I can't do this anymore and my life sucks and I just want to run away, then that's not going to be good either. I think what people actually need to start doing is being raw. Feel free to post about the bad days as much as the good days. And you are in charge of your newsfeed. If you're seeing a whole bunch of negative things and you're getting body dysmorphia and comparing yourself to everybody else, maybe it's time that you change who you follow on your newsfeed. Decide who is benefiting your life and who is adding to your life instead of taking away.
I think that's very important because a lot of people they rely on all these Instagram celebrities, Facebook celebrities, and they're looking almost for self-worth on there. This person's small, she's got a great life, she's fit. I'm not quite like that. So that must equate to the fact that I'm not worth as much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think when people start following real people and people that are willing to be raw online as well as offline, you'll learn very quickly that if you get to know me, I am who I am on Facebook or in person. I don't try and hide anything. I'm very, very forthcoming, and I think more people need to be that way, and I think we are starting to wake up, but it is slow.
What's the first step for somebody who is struggling, whether it be with their diet, their body type, their mental health? What would be the first step that they should take?
Honestly, I would say self-care, because a lot of times our insecurities come from a lack of self-care. And I heard recently that our insecurities are actually a way of our survival, right? But we don't need that anymore because we're not living in an age where our very existence is threatened. But if we have self-care in place, and I'm not talking about going to the spa or getting a massage every week or going to get your nails. I'm talking about, managing your calendar, managing your stress level, managing your sleep, making sure your nutrition is on point, going on those date nights with your significant other, having individual relationships with your kids, and having an individual relationship with yourself. If you have that in your life, all of a sudden your insecurities start going to sleep and they go into a hibernation. So that's one of the most important things.
What are some tools or books that can help somebody along their journey?
Ooh, that's a hard question for me to answer, Mike, because my attention span has not been the greatest since the accident, so I have yet to be able to read a book cover to cover. Even like simple novels, fiction novels, is hard for me to get through. I really do like your podcast. I like HCI's podcasts, and I just started a new one of Network Geniuses. They have great inspirational feedback. I mean, all three of those that I listed are amazing and inspirational. If it's just one thing that you do, always look for something that is going to help you grow, not take away.
On the road to recovery, what's something that you wish you knew when you woke up in that hospital bed?
I wish I was able to accept that it would take time. Because we live in such a fast food paced lifestyle. We want instant results. We have Snapchat filters, and we can take blemishes and make them go away, and we have, we can edit our bodies to make them look better in our minds. And everything takes time. And I really wish I would have been able to understand that this is a marathon, and that even when I hit the 2-year mark, which will be in February, that I still won't be like I was before, that I will still have a long road to go to rebuild the strength that I had. That's really defeating when you're constantly measuring I should be here, and I should be there, and I should be here.
I think a lot of people probably start to blame themselves a little bit for things, it'd be, if I didn't do this, then this wouldn't have happened. But it was that journey. You can't go back. Mm-hmm. So for people that have been blaming themselves for something that is out of their control, what do you think they should be doing to start regaining control over their emotions?
Wow. Yeah, that rabbit hole is a really dangerous one to go down. Absolutely. One of the tools I use is distractions. If I start going down that rabbit hole, because I could have left earlier, I actually could have chosen not to go. And that just leads to not good places. So distractions are key. Whether that's calling a friend, or putting on Netflix or Crave, or putting on music, having a playlist. Music really inspires me, and it reminds me why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I'll put that on, and it will kind of bring me out of that blame game, because it is really dangerous, and it doesn't serve you, and it actually impedes your progress if progress is what you're looking for.
What do you think are some essential elements to creating a brand or a business?
I think it's not just a drive to succeed, but it's the drive to keep moving forward, to up level everything that you're doing all the time.
How do you decide what platforms to broadcast on, or to hit, or even with your own health and life coaching, how did you decide what programs to offer clients?
So my platform is primarily Facebook, and I chose that because Women are almost always the instigators of bettering themselves and their families. And Facebook is very heavy laden with women. Secondly, people know me from Facebook. I already had a platform, so that was really easy for me to start integrating my business into.
And before we go on, you do have a Facebook page that has shown all your recovery. It's Jodi's Road to Recovery, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that goes through, I mean, you've got pictures, you've got video. So anybody out there that wants to see any of this, I would encourage you to stop by and check out the pictures, check out Jodi's inspirational messages that she's had, and some not so inspirational ones when she's maybe a little frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to being raw, right? Like, it's what you see is what you get. And I really wanted people to know what grief looked like, what anger looked like, and what recovery looked like, because we don't talk about that as society, and I think we really need to.
I think everybody tries to make it look as shiny and happy as possible, but if you're actually putting the emotions out there, it's going to help you a lot more with recovery than if you're putting on that fake mask all the time.
Absolutely. And people that are struggling with mental health, people that are struggling with recovery, so often people think that we're doing okay because we don't say anything, or that we have this happy face. And I can tell you, almost every single day at the hospital, I did have a smile on my face, and people wouldn't know that what I was struggling with inside. So again, it's so important to share and bring awareness to it.
What advice would you give to somebody that's considering building their own business?
I would say have patience. So many people get caught up in the idea that they're going to do this new education and they're going to start making money so fast, and just clients are going to come rolling in. And that is not the fact at all. Whether it be with massage, whether it be with Reiki, whether it be with teaching Reiki, everything was a process. And I know that this coaching is going to be a process. But as long as you're taking one step at a time, letting that establish and gain ground, and then take another step and building upon each step, you're going to make it as long as you keep moving forward. But don't skip your steps.
Is there anything coming up that you have that you're launching? Any programs that you're launching?
Yeah, so in mid-January, I will be opening up my books to take on a few more clients, and I focus on decoding your bioidentity. So there's 2 different programs for that. The first one is for somebody who needs regular check-ins and regular encouragement, and just somebody really there to be their cheerleader and to help them along the way. Then there's the other one where, you still get that, but I'm not checking in midweek. It's just once a week. And in those 2 programs, I do offer how to teach how to do your magic plate and how to balance your meals. I'm an activity coach. If you're scared of doing something and because you haven't done it for a while, or you just want somebody to go with you because you've never been before, I'll do that if it's in my physical capabilities, because the first step is moving past your fear. So I will step there with you. And that's just some of the ways that I will do that. If you need somebody to come help you grocery shop and look at labels, I will gladly do that. And then there's my third program, where if you are somebody like me who needs just a little direction and you take it and you run with it, then I offer that program. But all of them are designed to figure out your bioidentity, to help minimize your stress, and to help you achieve your goals.
I want to thank Jodi for coming on to Performance Theory today. Where can our listeners find you?
Primarily, you can find me on Facebook at Elements of Wellness, or you can find me on my website at www.elementsofwellness.org.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Please share this podcast and make sure you subscribed, because a bunch of you are listening haven't passed it on to your friends. Find me on social media at Mike Clark Life on all major platforms, or visit MikeClarkLife.com.